So let's talk about engagement. One way to understand engagement: to what degree does an employee use their discretionary energy to accomplish more or better work? This issue of engagement has become the source of competitive advantage in our current market. You know, if you've got way more capital than somebody else, that's definitely an advantage. If you've got a patent or a copyright that someone else doesn't have, definitely a competitive advantage. But there's a lot of folks who are just head to head, just going at it, trying to win out there. And if you're going to win in the workplace, engaged employees is simply mandatory. It's just got to happen. So we're going to talk about the steps to get there today. Good management is the art of making problems so interesting and their solutions so constructive that everyone wants to get to work and deal with them. The first challenge to get over as a manager to make sense of your role is that the problems are your greatest gift, because they are what allow you to set up your frontliner to be the hero of the story. And you can come alongside of them by listening to their problems, listening to what those problems are, helping them overcome those problems, and the story of their work experience engages them in that way. Every employee who's facing a challenge, whether they're conscious of it or not, they're sort of telling their own story in the face of these problems. If the manager doesn't do their function of helping those problems get either removed or overcome, the natural tendency is that something is the problem, and the frontliner begins to think, well, then it's the manager who's the problem. And so they turn and look at you, and you become the obstacle they want to overcome. And now you've got a real problem. So first of all, where does some of this disengagement come from? Sometimes expectations are not clear. Sometimes the tools are not provided. Feedback, how am I doing? All of these things, if they're not getting them, frontliners will begin to disengage. The number one reason, however, across all studies, is that employees do not feel like they're being heard. I mean, you've said this yourself. You've had your friends say this to you. Those people, they don't care. They don't listen. They're not paying attention. I'm out there. The metaphor we often use is the Wiggly Shovel handle, right? If it's my job to go out behind this building and dig holes with a shovel, and the handle on that shovel is wiggly, and it makes it hard to dig the holes, I have two questions. Does anybody know, and does anybody care, right? And if I know someone knows, and I know someone cares, and they're wanting to do something about it, I will engage and dig holes the best that I can with that wiggly shovel, right? Y'all, this is how businesses win in the marketplace. This is how they win. Our lives are filled with wiggly shovel handles. Life is incredibly imperfect. There's really no work environment where everything is so pristine and so perfect that there are no wiggly shovel handles. The issue is, does someone know? Does someone care? Does it look like they're going to do something about it? And then for now, I'll engage. But if it looks like no one's listening, my opinion doesn't count. Given that we have wiggly shovel handles, could we dig over there instead of here? No one cares. No one's going. That's the zone where employees begin to disengage because they feel that their opinions don't count. The frontliners are there with the customers. They're the ones creating the value. And this is another perspective, managers, that it's just important to own it. Their feedback, it may sound like whining at times, but all in the midst of all that whining are jewels, are gold mines for you to create the experience of engagement for them. So at the core of the problem is that it's about listening to frontliners and removing those obstacles and barriers so that they can thrive in their work. It's understanding that all the value that's being generated in a company is being generated by the frontliners, whoever is either interacting with a customer or is creating the widget that company creates. If I make money by manufacturing shoes, then the margin that's created by those shoes being manufactured is the value created. No value is created outside of that function. And so all the support, all the other stuff that goes into it, it has to create value in those shoes. And if those people become disengaged, the value isn't there. So what not to say to employees? The most common thing that managers tell employees about problems is, don't bring me problems, bring me solutions. If you got something to say to me, make it something I want to hear, essentially. We want to encourage you to stop saying that. Don't say, don't bring me problems, bring me solutions. Bring me the problems. Bring me whatever you've got. Tell me what's really going on, what's really frustrating you. What to say to employees is things like, I want to hear about your problems, your ideas, and your solutions. I want to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because of the way communication works up and down in an organization, sometimes there's pressure from higher up to bring good news and not bad news. And when that happens, sometimes it encourages a communication where the bad news just gets kind of shoved under a rug. But we're saying, no, I want to hear about all the problems, the ideas, the solutions, all of it, good, bad, ugly. We're not looking to blame anybody. We just want to find solutions. We want to be advocates. We want to help remove the obstacles so that we can all succeed. That's the message you want to send to your frontliners. The two basic obstacles that keep managers from being able to do this effectively and consistently are these two things. The fear of what may happen when they ask, and then not knowing for sure how to handle the tension that comes from this. This is a fascinating thing that happens. When we talk to managers and we first encourage them to start doing this, one of the quick questions that comes up is, what if they think I'm actually going to be able to do something about it? Because the manager is thinking, I don't know if I can do anything about any of this, right? Because remember, we didn't promise we're going to get new shovels. We're just saying, look, we want to find out what's going on, and we're going to find out if we can get new shovels. But if we can't, we still have to have a job to do. So managers begin to fear, what happens when I start asking this? Do I get a floodgate that opens and I get, all kinds of things? Am I sending the message somehow that I can do something more than I can do, and then they feel betrayed by me because it... So that's one of the obstacles. And the other one is, when this conversation really begins, and really begins genuinely, a lot of frontliners are just really ticked off. They really are. And so there's a tension that can come from this. Down in that bottom circle where the frontliners live, that's where the problems really are. And oftentimes they're discussed in both professional and unprofessional ways. All those problems the gossip, the rumors, the riffraff, all that junk that gets talked about over the water cooler, that's all your gold, right? That's the stuff you want to hear about. But it may come to you and spill out in some unprofessional ways and even some accusational ways. And if they've lived with these problems for a long time, they assume it's your fault, that you haven't done anything about it. It's okay. We're gonna get this thing aligned and get it fixed. But realize when they start talking about it, it's gonna spill out with negativity. It could spill out with accusation. It could spill out with distrust. You can count on the fact that every frontliner in your company, every one of them, has got a list of at least 2 or 3 things that they keep in their back pocket, and they assume I'll never have the chance to speak to this stuff. But if they do, there's real issues there. It's just a matter of getting them to talk about it. So we like to use this little target model here to show how this thing plays out. So let's say I'm a frontliner at company X, and I've got an idea that no one listens to, or I've got a frustration that no one pays attention to. And my challenge, let's say my Wiggly Shovel handle. Okay, I'm out behind the building, I'm trying to dig holes, no one's paying attention. So my first reaction is frustration. That frustration just kind of lasts for a while, but frustration doesn't just stay frustration. Eventually, it sort of blossoms into anger and cynicism. Depending on the personality that you have, if you're much more extroverted, then it's going to show up as anger. If you're a little bit more introverted, it's going to show up more as cynicism. And sort of the next time they roll out an idea, you're thinking, right, they can't even fix my shovel. We're going to do this? Probably. Yeah, we'll see. This is what disengagement looks like, y'all. We'll see. Frontliners who say, you can't fix my shovel. They're saying we're going to do all this stuff. I'll smile and nod, but we'll see. That stance, because who's going to make it happen? It's the frontliners, right? It's the frontliners who are going to execute anything that matters in the company. And if the frontliners are saying we'll see, what they're saying is, I'm not going to do it. Well, if everybody that's frontline is saying I'm not going to do it, it's already doomed to fail, right? So that cynicism, that anger, it's creating, that's just what disengagement looks like. So then ultimately, when they've got, something's got to happen, it shows up then as drama, right? Either creating a scene or I don't know, big broad statements of I'm going to quit. I was working with a company recently that had difficulty because they had someone leave and they wanted to come back, and they said, was it okay? And when I drilled down to it, it came down to this situation right here. He didn't really want to leave. He just didn't know how to get anybody else to listen to him. And so he just got up one day and he said, I quit. And they all said, oh, this guy's so unpredictable. He's so disloyal. Should we bring him back in? Well, when I sat down and talked to him, it was like, yeah, you should bring him back in. He wants to work here. He wants to add value, but somebody's got to pay attention to what's going on.